The history of the Philippines is believed to have begun with the arrival of the first humans 1, 2, 3 using rafts or boats at least 67,000 years ago, as the 2007 discovery of Callao Man suggested. 4 Negrito groups first inhabited the isles. Groups of Austronesians later migrated to the islands. Scholars generally believe that these social groups eventually developed into various settlements or polities with varying degrees of economic specialization, social stratification, and political organization. 5 Some of these settlements, mostly those located on major river deltas, achieved such a scale of social complexity that some scholars believe they should be considered early states. 6 This includes the predecessors of modern-day population centers such as Maynila, Tondo, Pangasinan, Cebu, Panay, Bohol, Butuan, Cotabato, Lanao, and Sulu, as well as some polities, such as Panay, whose possibly location are still the subject of debate among scholars. 7. These polities were either greatly influenced, disputed, discussed by the Indian Hindu religion, language, culture, literature, and philosophy from India through many campaigns from India, including the Southeast Asia campaign of Rajendra Chala I, 8 Islam from Arabia, or were Sinified tributary states allied to China. These small maritime states flourished from the first millennium. 9, 10 These kingdoms traded with what are now called China, India, Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia. 11 The remainder of the settlements were independent barangays allied with one of the larger states. The first recorded visit by Europeans is the arrival of Ferdinand Magellan. He sighted Samar Island on March 16, 1521, and landed the next day on Homanan Island, now part of Gilan, Eastern Samar. 12 Spanish colonization began with the arrival of Miguel López de Legazpi's expedition on February 13, 1565 from Mexico. He established the first permanent settlement in Cebu. 13 Much of the archipelago came under Spanish rule, creating the first unified political structure known as the Philippines. Spanish colonial rule saw the introduction of Christianity, the code of law, and the oldest modern university in Asia. The Philippines was ruled under the Mexico-based Viceroyalty of New Spain until Mexican independence, after which, the colony was directly governed by Spain. Spanish rule ended in 1898 with Spain's defeat in the Spanish-American War. The Philippines then became a territory of the United States. American rule was not uncontested. The Philippine Revolution had begun in August 1896 against Spain, and after the defeat of Spain and the Battle of Manila Bay began again in earnest, culminating in the Philippine Declaration of Independence and the establishment of the First Philippine Republic. The Philippine-American War ensued, with extensive damage and death, and ultimately resulting in the defeat of the Philippine Republic. 14, 15, 16, 17. The United States established the Insular Government to rule the Philippines. 18 In 1907, the elected Philippine Assembly was convened as the lower house of a bicameral legislature, and in 1916 the U.S. federal government formally promised independence and the Jones Act. 18 The Philippine Commonwealth was established in 1935, as a 10-year interim step prior to full independence. 19 Before independence, World War II began, and Japan occupied the Philippines. 20 After the end of the war, the Treaty of Manila established an independent Philippine Republic. 21. In 1972, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos imposed martial law. Following the assassination of Ninoy Aquino, Marcos held snap elections in 1986, and subsequently fled the country during the People Power Revolution, which installed Cory Aquino as president and re-established democracy. In the 21st century, the Philippines is the 12th most populous country of the world, part of ASEAN, a key ally of the United States, with an economy dominated by fishing and agriculture, with the growing business process outsourcing BPO industry, and nearly 10% of the population abroad as overseas Filipino workers.